So guys, in the month of August, I received 7 different dividend payments, and they came from some of my favorite stocks like Enterprise Products Partners, Procter and Gamble, and Williams Sonoma. And in this video, we're going to go through each of those payments and add them all up to reveal my dividend income for the month, as well as my total income received so far in 2025. But before we get to those, I want to hear from you. Leave me a comment below and let me know what were some of your highest dividend payments this month and which stocks did they come from. I'd be curious to hear if we have any of the same ones. Anyway guys, getting into the first payment I received this month, this one came from none other than Lowe's, one of my favorite dividend kings, who paid me $19.67, a great way to kick off the month of August. And Lowe's has been on fire lately, guys. If we take a look at the share price performance over here on Snapstock, we can see that in the last month, Lowe's is up a whopping 13%. That's pretty crazy. And if we zoom out looking at the year-to-date performance, it's still up in the green, although not by as much. It's up 5.6%. So all of its gains this year and then some have come just in the last 30 days. Now, with that said, taking a look at my Lowe's position here using my dividend portfolio tracking spreadsheet, which you can start using for free. There is a link to download this spreadsheet in the description of the video. I hope you check it out. But here we can see I have 16.4 shares of Lowe's at an average cost of $194.50, which is so sweet, especially considering the current share price is about $64 above that right now. So that's going to leave me up 33% just looking at the share price, and I'm getting an extra 7% or so on a total return basis, including dividends. But anyway, that was payment number 1. Now moving on to payment number 2. This is my largest payment of the month. This one came from Enterprise Products Partners, EPD, who paid me $75.66, a really nice payment, which is going to bring our total so far for the month to $95.33. We're almost at the $100 mark, and we're only 2 payments in. And as opposed to Lowe's, things have been pretty quiet lately for Enterprise Products Partners. We can see in the last month it's only up about 2%, a bit more tame than what we saw with Lowe's. And if we look at the year-to-date performance, it's not up too much more than that. It's only up 3.25% here. With that said, if we zoom out looking at the 1-year performance, it's up a whole lot more here. It's up almost 15% if we look over the last 365 days. It looks like this time last year it was about 27, 28 bucks a share. So it's gone up a bit since then. And jumping back over to the spreadsheet, looking at my EPD position, I have almost 140 shares of this company at an average cost of $25.42. So right now the current share price is about, looks like $6 above my cost basis, which is going to leave me up almost 25% just looking at the share price. But the dividends really pack a punch with this position and add an extra 23% to my total return. And if we scroll over here, EPD is one of the highest yielding stocks in my portfolio. Right now you can lock in a near 7% yield if you bought at current prices. My yield on cost is quite a bit higher. I'm rocking an 8.6% yield on cost with EPD, so that's looking really good. Anyway, now moving on to dividend payment number 3. This one came from AbbVie, who paid me $16.49 for the month, which brings our total so far officially across the $100 mark to $111.82. And AbbVie is another one of those that's really just been on fire lately. Looking at the share price performance in the last month, it's up almost 10%. Really strong performance from AbbVie. And if we look at the year-to-date performance, it's pretty much double that. It's up over 18%. So 2025 has been so good to this stock. And as I'm sure you can imagine, with that substantial gain, not only in the last month, but so far this year, my position is sitting pretty. It's not a huge position, but what I have is doing really good. I only have about 10 shares of AbbVie at an average cost that's so sweet, $114.20. So the current share price is almost $100 above my cost basis, which is going to leave me up about 82% just looking at the share price, which I think is pretty impressive. I mean, if we look at the dollar amount, that's about $943. On a total return basis, including dividends, I'm up almost $1,200 or 104%. Which is crazy. This is the only other stock in my portfolio that's seeing a gain above 100%. Williams Sonoma is the other one right here. But yeah, this AbbVie position never ceases to amaze me. My only regret is that I don't own more. It's such a small position for me. It's one of my smallest holdings, actually. I only have about 2.4% of the portfolio here in AbbVie. At any rate, now moving on to dividend payment number 4. This one came from Procter and Gamble, another one of my favorite dividend kings. And in the month of August, Procter and Gamble paid me $31, which is going to bring our total to $142.81. And Procter & Gamble has had a pretty tough year so far. The last month wasn't really anything crazy. It was only down 0.5%, but looking at the year to date, while pretty much the entire rest of the market is up, I think the S&P is up over double digits at this point year to date. Procter & Gamble is seeing a pullback. It's down almost 5% here in 2025. With that said though, considering the share price has seen quite a bit of a pullback, I think Procter & Gamble has been a pretty good buying opportunity, and I've actually been swooping up a lot of this stock lately. monthly. Looking at all of my transactions over here, just for the last month and a half or so, I've really been going hard into Procter and Gamble, and since around mid-July, I've actually added about 20 shares to my position, which at this point in time is going to leave me with 47.36 shares of Procter and Gamble at an average cost of $144.34. So I have been buying a little bit above my average cost per share, but it's really nothing too crazy. And even with that, I'm still up almost 9% just looking at the share price, and including dividends, I'm still up 14%. And with all that buying, Procter and Gamble has become a pretty hefty position in my portfolio. It now makes up 8.4% of my entire taxable account. So it's a pretty big fish in here, and it also is getting to be a pretty substantial portion of my overall income, about 7%, and it's officially bringing in over $200 per year in dividends. So this month's payment was, what was it, $30, $31. The next time we get paid from Procter and Gamble, so next quarter, we're going to be over $50, so it's going to be a much better payment then. Anyway, now this is going to bring us to dividend payment number 5. This one came from one of the monthly payers in my portfolio. This is Main Street Capital Corporation, who paid me $14.35. Not too bad, and that's going to bring our total so far for the month to $157.16. And even though the stock did see a slight pullback here in the last month, we can see it was down about 1.5%. If we zoom out looking at the year-to-date performance, overall Main Street's had a really solid 2025. The stock is up 12.2%, and it doesn't stop there. If we zoom out over the last year, it's up over 40%, and the share price is really up there. I mean, it's pretty dang close to its 52-week high, but $65 per share for Main Street is very expensive. I'm not complaining though. My position has definitely been a beneficiary of that. I have 56.25 shares, and my average cost is $40.66. So right now, with all of these gains, that's going to leave me up about 60% just looking at the share price, which I think is pretty crazy considering Main Street really is a higher yielding investment. I think you're more so buying it for the income. So I'm very happy with the share price return, and the dividends still really give you a nice boost. I'm up close to 90% if we include dividends. So along with AbbVie, along with Williams Sonoma, this is one of the better performing positions in my portfolio. It's actually my third best performer overall. At any rate, now moving on to dividend payment number 6. This one came from the other monthly pair in my portfolio. This is actually the monthly dividend company. We're talking Realty Income, who paid me $29.27, bringing our total so far for the month to $186.43. And like Main Street, Realty Income has also had a pretty solid year so far. The last month has been pretty tame. It's up 1.75%, but looking at the year to date, it's actually doing better than Main Street. It's up 14.5%. So it's been a good year for Realty Income. And as far as my position goes, I have 108.79 shares at an average cost of $53.56. So the current share price is like $5 above my cost basis, which is going to leave me up 9.3%. Really nothing too crazy, and including dividends, I'm up a bit more actually. I'm up 24.12%. I will take that. And Realty Income also is one of the larger positions in my portfolio. Just in terms of dollars invested, it makes up 7.2% of my taxable account, but by and large, this is my portfolio's largest income generator. Every single year, this one position is bringing in $350 in dividends, and that makes up almost 12% of my total income, which is a bit higher than where I'd like it. Kind of my cap on that sort of thing is around 10%. So obviously Realty Income's quite a bit above that. And so with that said, I don't see myself adding too heavily to my Realty Income position anytime soon, but I'm very happy with what I own. Anyway, last but certainly not least, the final dividend payment I received in August came from Williams Sonoma, who paid me $23.76. And WSM has had quite the roller coaster year. We can see that in the last month, the stock is up 5.4%. So a pretty solid gain then. And if we zoom out looking at the year to date, it's pretty much the same actually. It's only up 5.7%. We can definitely see it's had its ups and downs, peaking at around $210 per share, then reaching a low of about $137 per share. Probably should have been buying around there because as we can see, it's back up to above $190, and actually recently it was back up close to $210 per share right there. So it really rebounded strong. My position though is still looking pretty good. I have 36 shares at an average cost that is just ridiculous, $66.54. We saw the returns earlier, but just as a recap, I'm up almost 190% just looking at the share price, and 196% or so including dividends. And with that final dividend payment from Williams Sonoma, that's going to bring my total dividend income for the month of August to $210.19, a pretty solid month of income. But But if we compare this to last August, I actually generated more in dividends. I brought in $227.06, which represents a 7.4% decline year over year. And the only reason the income is lower year over year is because this time last year, I had one additional payment from Starbucks who pays in August. And so as a lot of you guys know, I already sold out of my Starbucks position earlier this month. And so just not being able to have that last dividend payment, that's what caused that year over year decline in income. At any rate, now looking at the annual dividend income so far in 2025, just for the first 8 months, I brought in $2,154.42, which is still a big gain year over year. For the first 8 months of 2024, I brought in $1,787. So that represents a 20.55% year over year increase, just looking at the annualized dividend income. So that all looks pretty good. And as a recap, here are all of this month's dividend payments. We do see some pretty big year over year increases in some of these payments too. EPD was a big jump, about 28% there. Procter and Gamble looks like we saw a decent jump, almost 10%. Realty Income was up over 11%, and Williams Sonoma was up almost 16%. And the crazy thing about Williams Sonoma is I didn't add any more to this position. That was just the dividend increases. So overall, August was another pretty solid month, if I do say so myself. And with that said, now I want to switch gears and show you which companies are going to be paying me in this upcoming month here in September. And to do this, guys, we are going to be looking at the dividend calendar tool over here on Snowball Analytics, which outside of my free portfolio tracking spreadsheet, this is my favorite. If you're looking for something with the most amount of bells and whistles, you'll definitely want to check out Snowball Analytics, and you can actually do so for free. In the description, there's a link to try it out with a 14-day trial. And if you like it, you can save 10% on your subscription when you use code Ryne Williams at checkout. Definitely use Snowball. You guys will really like it. But anyway, guys, September is going to be a crazy month of dividends. We're going to be kicking things off with Visa, who's going to be paying $14 on the 2nd. Looks like Zoetis is going to be delivering a nice payment one day later on the 3rd. Then about a week later, we've got a couple pretty hefty payments. We've got one from Johnson & Johnson for $53, one for Chevron the day after for a little bit more, $54. And then also on the 10th, we have one from Snap-on at $19.21. And then on the 15th, we've got a pretty killer day of dividends. We've got one payment from Realty Income for almost $30. Another one from Main Street for $14.35, same thing as this month. Then we have a special dividend coming in from Blue Owl Capital Corporation. So with these three combined, we're looking at about $46, maybe $47 in dividends total. Pretty solid day. And then a couple days later, we've got a nice one from Clear Secure for $16. We also have another dividend actually, about 9 days later coming in from Main Street Capital Corporation. This is going to be their special dividend. So we're going to be getting 2 dividend payments from Main Street in September. That'll be really solid. And we will close things out on a good note. On September 30th, we'll get a huge dividend payment from SCHD. This is just the estimated amount, so it could change, but as of now, we're looking at $114.66, which when we add all of these together, that's going to bring the total dividend income for September to $353.70. So September is shaping up to be an incredible month of income. What can I say? It's actually going to be a record month. So I'm very excited about that. And with that, if you're in the market for some cheap dividend stocks, then check out this next video right over here, where I'm telling you about 3 of them that all look like great pickups right now in the month of September. So click right over here to check those out, and I'll see you in the next one.